Hello, I'm Jo Kimonade and I'm talking to John Knorr, CEO and founder of Uglii Corporation. And today we're talking about the benefits of Uglii for retail organisations in the US. We have sent all the US retail organisations a document. Hopefully you've read it. You wouldn't have picked up our accent. So now you get to listen to some Aussie accent telling you a little bit further about the benefits, John.
Absolutely, Jo. Uglii is well explained in those documents, so each of those organisations should read that document very carefully. It's a big document, but it explains in a lot of detail the business benefits to retailers and, of course, the commission benefits to the retail organisations. So, yeah, it's a document I'd encourage everybody to read carefully.
All right. Now, John, retailers bring in about 15% of GDP to a country, that's correct?
Yes, as a general rule, in advanced economies such as the United States or Australia or Europe, retailing takes or creates about 15% of the GDP, and coincidentally, about 15% of all businesses are involved in retailing.
Right, and in the US, there are about 30 million businesses?
There are 27 million businesses and 30 million places of business.
Right.
Okay, so Uglii is more interested in the places of business. Uglii's system is spatially based, so it's geographically based. So the location of business is important in the Uglii system.
Right.
So our whole focus is about bringing clients, customers to retailers in their location.
And of those 30 million places of business, about 4.5 million of those are retail places of business.
Yes, that's about right.
So that's quite a substantial market, really.
Well, the US economy is huge. It's the biggest in the world, so yeah.
Right, okay.
It's very large.
Why is Uglii important for retail organisations?
Well, Jo, there's two aspects to Uglii. One is the B2B aspect, which is important for all retailers because retailers buy stock and they buy services such as power and water and those sort of services.
Sure.
So improving their ability to buy competitively is what the B2B part of Uglii is about, and we're introducing that system, the B2B system, this year. So it's going to become very important for retailers to reduce their overheads and costs and buy better and buy more competitively.
Sure.
And that's what the Uglii system is about. That's part of what the Uglii system is about. Next year, we're introducing the retail component of the Uglii marketplace system,
Which is B2C.
Which is B2C. So that's the system by which retailers can compete online to market their products and services wherever they want. So if they really only want to compete locally, they can do that very easily with the Uglii system. If they want to compete for sales on the other side of the world or in other areas of the world, then this system gives them the ability to do that very affordably.
So that's amazing, like a small high street business that would never have had any opportunity to market into another economy like China or whatever, has as much
marketing power
as any big business then.
Absolutely. Okay, so that's what's sort of revolutionary about the Uglii system and why it's so important. Let me just take you to work we're doing in Europe with European retailers. Now, we're dealing with an organisation called Emota in Brussels, and it has members that together sell about $350 billion worth of products online per annum. And their big problem is that they tend to do that only in their own countries or neighbouring countries in Europe. So they're very frustrated that they've got no reach. The ordinary internet processes don't seem to give them sufficient reach for them to penetrate other big markets such as the US market or the Chinese market or the Asian market generally, which are immense and very attractive markets.
If through Uglii they were able to market to those economies, will that be a threat to those economies?
Well, it's certainly a challenge, but the same processes, the same abilities of the Uglii system to market US retailers into Europe are in the system, but businesses need to be in the system to be able to do that.
Right.
Okay, so what the system is very good at is breaking down barriers to to marketing because the system covers off. It has processes that make languages irrelevant, and it allows a business to say, look, I know I've got a market in these areas of, say, Europe. I know I've got a market around London for these high value products that I sell, for example, and the major capital cities where there's plenty of money. In the poorer parts of Europe, in the rural areas, for example, there may not be such potentially powerful markets for American retailers. So the system gives them, the Uglii system gives them the ability to discriminate where they want to market their products and services into. So if US retailers think they've got a competitive edge anywhere in the world, in Australia, which they do have, or in any part of Europe or Asia, and particularly China, then they can identify that on the map, that area on the map, and only market into those areas.
Right. Okay.
So the ability of the Uglii system to brush aside language as a barrier to doing business is very smart, and that's what the retailers in Europe are excited about.
I understand. Yep.
Yeah.
Especially with the amount of different languages in that
in
space.
Europe, that's a real problem. You know,
Sure.
they've got many languages, and they're retailing into even a neighbouring country is difficult from, online.
Yep.
But the Uglii system overcomes those problems.
Okay.
So the message for retailers in the US is that the Uglii system is going to not only transform the opportunities online, but it's also going to increase the threat. So retailers in the US need to be alert to these processes and exploit them, because they can create immense amounts of revenue for them if they use them properly.
Right, okay. So we are talking about retail organisations coming on board, joining the Uglii Coalition as a national partner.
Yep. That's the state-based retail organisations.
Okay, and how do we calculate what sort of commissions are available to them?
Joe, we think that the retail industry will generate for partners, Uglii partners, about 2.1 billion in commissions.
Right, okay.
So the question is,
who's going to get it?
Who's going to get it? Exactly, who's going to get it? Okay.
So who are the other potential players?
Well, there will be a credit card system operating globally, so they'll be competing for that money. There'll be several logistics companies in the US competing.
Yes.
There will probably be a lot of banks competing in that space to register businesses.
Okay.
So the retailing organisations are going to have some competition, but still there's a big cake there, and that's going to be very good money to support their activities.
Does that mean that they're confined to recruiting businesses in that state?
No, they can do that anywhere in the whole of the US economy.
Okay.
Yeah, so we call them national partners because they've got the reach of being able to recruit retailers right throughout the whole US economy.
Okay.
So if they've got a big retailer based in their state, then if they recruit that organisation in, that's a huge bonus.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I think it's very important to be cognizant of the fact that other organisations that are partnering with Uglii will be just as cognizant of the importance of the big guys.
Yeah.
So it's very important that state-based organisations use their local leverage to get businesses registered in the system, particularly bigger retailers in the system, into the system.
Okay. So, John, that means the Uglii system is giving every retailer now the opportunity to become an online retailer. How will that affect existing online retailers? Will they become less dominant?
Well, probably, Joe. What the Uglii system does is allow any retailer, or every retailer in every economy effectively, to compete to supply where that retailer thinks it's got a commercial advantage in a particular area. Now, whether that area is local or it's the other side of the world, that's up to the retailer.
Sure.
The retailer can make that decision.
Sure.
So, yes, it's making every business, however humble that business and unsophisticated that business may be, it's giving them the opportunity to compete online in a very powerful way. This is a very powerful medium. It's affordable. Okay, so it's really lifting every retailer up in terms of their ability to compete to supply.
Okay.
And one of the things we see in retailing right around the world is an industry under threat by the smart online retailers.
Sure.
So this is giving them the tools to play the game and
Okay.
compete to supply, however
Yep.
however small they may be. So there's no limitations on what they can do.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
For all retailers, it's a very, very exciting thing. Now, when we're talking about retailers, we tend to talk about their marketing ability with this system. But the other side of the coin is the ability of the retailers to buy better. And that's
Sure.
very important.
Okay.
So when we're talking to retail organisations around the world, and we do that a lot, we also say to them, look, bring in the wholesalers. So, you know, if a business is in the fashion industry, we need to bring in the fashion suppliers.
Sure.
Because they need to compete to supply too, as B2B suppliers.
Right.
So there is an immediacy about getting all businesses or retail businesses in the US economy into the system as quickly as can.
Right.
Now, the importance of that immediacy is that once a business is registered in the system, it will stay registered in the system under the organisation that brought it into the system. There's no real ability for the business to say, well, I don't like the Retailers Association anymore, I want to go and join a credit card. I want to join Uglii through a credit card. That's not practical,
Yes.
okay, for either the retailer or the other parties. So we don't really facilitate that.
Okay.
So the importance is that retail organisations get into this Uglii idea and get themselves organised and get retailers educated about how powerful this system is for them.
Sure.
Okay? And what the benefits are for joining the system through the retailers organisation. Now, I'm not just saying that. There are real benefits, because what we expect of the retail organisations to do is to educate their members into how to use this system competitively. So US retailers are competing on a global stage aggressively and using all the tools that the system has for them.
Right.
So we see a benefit to retailers of joining the Uglii system through a retail organisation.
Yeah.
And look, that's the same all around the world. In India, we've got dozens of industry organisations joining the Uglii system, and we love them because not only are they powerful and well connected to their membership, but they want to educate their membership on how to use this system,
Right.
to the best advantage of their membership.
Okay.
So that's very important. It's important that retailers join the Uglii system through their
Retail organisation.
state retail organisation.
Okay. And what's the urgency for these retail organisations to come on board? Is it so that they can educate their retailers how to use the system prior to the B2C rollout?
Look, I think it's just as important that they do that education process. Now, they start that reasonably quickly because the retailers are buyers. They trade B2B as well as they trade B2C. So
Sure.
they buy through, as buyers. The procurement process of Uglii are very powerful, okay?
Yes.
It brings greater competition to a procurement event, which means that if a business is buying, it's going to buy better through the Uglii system
Sure.
than any other way.
Okay.
Now, that's important for retailers, just as it is for any other business. Any other business anywhere in the
right.
world.
If you
that's
can
important.
reduce your business inputs, you're saving money.
Yeah, that's right. You make more money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's very important that retailers come into the system now, even if they're only using the system to make their procurement, their purchases.
Sure.
And you'll see right through the US economy a big swing this year into doing that.
Right.
Because there's a fair bit of excitement in parts of the US government, for example, about Uglii's better procurement processes and how that's going to help more businesses compete to supply, which means lower prices and savings for government. The
Okay.
same processes in retailing. If there's more suppliers, then you're going to get a better price for what you're buying.
Okay. And then I think we calculate that businesses on average will spend around about $20 per week in the Uglii system.
Places of business.
Places of business.
So if I've got 100 branches, then they're going to spend 100 by 20.
And so the industry organisation as the national partner gets 45% of
Yes.
that, and that's the 2.1 billion we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So there's definitely, a lot of benefit there for
Yes.
those retail organisations.
The retail organisations need to be conscious that there's going to be a lot of competition to register retailers by other people.
Sure.
Logistics people who deliver parcels to those retailers.
Yeah.
Banks, credit cards. There's going to be a big fight for this money, this commission.
Sure.
So we're very keen, as I said before, we're very keen to see retailing organisations dominate this process of registering retail businesses in their economy, and particularly in the US economy.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for talking to us today, John.
My pleasure.
Thanks.